Hey guys, I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Thanksgiving came and went. We got about 3.5 weeks here, and then it's going to be Christmas. I plan to keep moving ahead. My guess is right before Christmas, we'll be taking another test. We should actually finish Module 4 and probably Module 5 by then. So, pacing wise, like I said, we're doing really well. You guys are right with everybody else. Although I introduced this slope intercept form to you guys. And I did that right before the break. And whenever we take a few days off, we usually got to come back and we got to look at it again. So what I did for you guys today is we have not done a digital interactive notebook over slope intercept form. So I do have your interactive notebook for you today. And I'm going to do this with you. And then when you guys get finished, you guys got an assignment where you guys are going to be looking at some graphs, and two of them are truths. One is a lie. You guys are going to try to identify which one is improper, was not graphed properly. When you guys choose that one, you're going to cover it up. You're just going to drag a box over it so I can see which one you believe is the lie. There are 15 questions that you guys are going to work on, and then you have some ST math for today. So that's our plan. I'm going to run over your guys' interactive notebook. Today should be the 30th. So you guys, when you're looking at your guys' notebook or you guys are taking notes over all of this, today's November 30th. And what you guys are going to be working on with me today is we're going to actually be doing slope intercept form. And you guys are going to do this through the interactive notebook. So we're going to start here. The only thing you have to do on slide 1 is insert your name. So you're going to click up there and you guys are going to insert your name. This is a slideshow, and I'm going through each slide with you guys. So you guys are going to be doing each slide with me. We're gonna cover all of this together. So this is our introduction to y equals mx plus b form. Please remember we looked at this last week. One of the most common forms for a linear equation. Linear is a fancy word for a line. Equation means it has an equal sign in it. Is y equals mx plus b. Today you're going to explore y equals mx plus b form in depth. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually look at this form a little bit more, y equals mx plus b, and remember that the m represents your slope. That's always going to be some value there. And then the b is going to represent where it crosses the y-axis at, your y-intercept. So slope intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. Important. Make sure you understand the meaning of each variable. So slope intercept form is written as y equals mx plus b. The x is the input, the y is the output. So we're inputting something into here, and then you guys are getting some kind of an answer for that, and that's going to come up with your y. The m is the slope, and the b is the y-intercept. So when we're talking about this equation, x is the input. When we input, this is going to give us what it equals, our output y. M is going to represent the slope, and B is going to represent the y-intercept. So you know what each one of those variables, each one of those letters mean. X is the input, Y is the output, M is the slope, and B is the y-intercept. So you know what all those letters represent. Here's some additional facts about slope-intercept form. If you know the slope of a line and the y-intercept, you can write an equation that describes the line. If you know the slope and you know the y-intercept, you can leave it as y equals, and then you'll put in the slope, x, and then you'll put in the y-intercept. Any equation can be written in slope-intercept form by solving for y, and I talked to you guys about that right before the break. You're going to try to get it so it says y equals. If it doesn't say y equals, the goal is to get it so that it says y equals. In this form, you can immediately see the slope and y-intercept. It can also help you graph a line quickly. Example, the y-intercept is 8 and the slope is 4. What is the equation? So you're just going to substitute the m. The m is going to become 4, and the b is going to become 8. And the new equation will be y equals 4x plus 8. The m is going to be the slope, which is 4. The 8 is going to be the y-intercept, which is 8, and you leave the y and the x. So if we know the y-intercept, that's going to come at the end. If we know the slope, that's going to come right after the x, and you can write it in y equals mx plus b form. Alrighty, guys, so here's our work. The directions say drag each equation into the correct box. So I'm going to slope-intercept form. We got a box, right? And then you guys got this other thing that says not slope intercept form, right? And then you guys got these equations that you guys are going to be looking at, and you guys are going to try to put them into each box. Which box does it go into? So we're going to look at that very first one. That very first one says y equals. So what you guys are trying to do is you're trying to make sure that it's actually solved for y. Y equals, and there's my slope, and there's my intercept. So that first one looks like it is. So we should drag y equals 3x plus 2 into that top box. The second one says 2y. That is not y equals. We would have to get rid of that 2. Since there's a 2 in front of it, that is not slope-intercept form. So it looks close, but that 2 messes us up. Y equals 1/2 x plus 1. Remember, slope is changing y over changing x, so this will often be a fraction, and that is okay. This is solved for y. There is nothing around that y, so we are in good shape with that one. So we're going to come up here. We should have y equals 1/2 x plus 1. My next one, 3y plus 2x equals 9. This is not solved for y. Since it is not solved for y, that is not going to work. So we're going to have to go 3y plus 2x equals 9 is going to come down into not slope-intercept form. This one says y equals negative x minus 3. It is solved for y. Y equals. Since it says y equals, it is going to come up here. And just remember that this one just has a -1 slope. That's okay. We don't write the 1, but it can be a -1 slope. The bottom one, 5y equals 5x plus 5. This is not solved for y. Since it is not solved for y, it is not in slope-intercept form. So the last one we should put down below. There is your answers to your guys' dragging on that slide. Alrighty, guys. So we're going to flip and we're going to go to the next slide. The next slide, you guys are going to be given some slopes. You guys are going to be given some y-intercepts, and you're going to have to write this in slope-intercept form. So we're going to start off, you guys. I'm going to do number 1. Number 1, the slope, it says, is 1/3. The y-intercept is 6. So to write this in the equation in slope-intercept form, what you guys are going to put in this box, y equals, and remember, you guys are always looking for y equals mx plus b. You're going to put in the slope where the m is. So that 1/3 is going to have to go in where the m is. Leave your x, and then you're going to drop in your y-intercept where the b is. This is a +6. It's a +6 y-intercept. So it would go up 6 onto the y-axis, and you would put a dot, and that would be where that would cross the y-axis at. So that is number 1. Number 2, I'm going to add down here. We have a slope of this time of -12. We have a y-intercept of -1/2. Now we're going to come over here. We got to write this. So remember, y equals every single time. For the m, you're going to put in that slope, and it doesn't matter if it's negative. It doesn't matter if it's positive. This one just happens to have a negative slope, but remember, lines have negative slopes. So this is going to be -12x, and then the b part is...
Please dismiss all students to their WIN session.
Thanks, Mr. Telefus. That was good. Test.
Okay, so then the B, sorry, we just had an announcement come on, and that was kind of an odd announcement, and I had to stop and listen to it. He was saying something about our WIN sessions. We're not doing WIN this year, so kind of threw me for a little bit. He excused all the kids to go to WIN, and I was like, whoa, are we going to WIN? What's going on? Anyways, so the B is your guys' y-intercept. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to put in here the -1/2. And I'm going to write it as that. I'm not going to bring over the plus minus. Remember, subtraction, you can always change fraction, addition, change sign, the second number. It's simpler, instead of having 2 operation signs right next to each other, just to write a minus. Just put in the -1/2. That's what this is. It crosses the y-axis at -1/2. So that's what this is telling me. It's telling me to drop down a half and put a dot. We're on the y-intercept. So that's how I would write number 2. And guys, I can go back and I'm looking and seeing when you guys are answering these, and there's some tricky ones in there that if you've done them with me, I'm going to be able to tell. Like if you write it funny on that one, I'm going to know you didn't watch my video. Slope of this one is going to be 1, and the y-intercept is going to be 0. And we're going to come over here. Remember, we're still working in y equals mx plus b. So what you guys are going to do is you guys are going to set it equal to y. Y equals, the slope is just 1. Since the slope is 1, you can write 1x, but I'm not going to because it's understood. Just a plain x is understood to be a 1x. And the y-intercept is 0. I could put in +0, but that doesn't change anything. I can do a plus 0, but it's understood that there's 0 after that. So I just got y equals x on that one. Pretty simple for that one. All right, number 4. Number 4 is my last one on this slide, and it says the slope of this one is 0, and that the y-intercept is -5. So again, we're going to have y equals, and for this one, if you put 0 in here, 0 times x is just 0. So I got 0 there, and then my y-intercept is my -5, -5. 0 minus 5 is just -5. So I got y equals -5. And remember that these are just those horizontal lines that have like a 0 slope, right? 0 slope. Horizontal lines, we talked about those. We had these ones that were undefined, vertical was undefined, horizontal was 0 slope. So that's what we have, a 0 slope. So we should get a horizontal line. Y is always going to equal -5. We're not going up or down. We're going down to -5 on the y-axis, and all the points are just going to line up where it says y equals -5. The x's can vary, but the y's are never going to vary. Okay, so that's number 4. I'm going to flip to the next slide. The next slide says, what happens if b is 0? All right, so when we're looking at this, we got y equals mx plus b. And my question for number 5 says, okay, what happens when b equals 0? So remember that b is my y-intercept, right? So b is my y-intercept. So what it's telling me is that it's going to, the line here that you guys are going to be graphing, so the line crosses the y-axis at 0. So when you guys are like going to graph this, you got this point right here that it's going to cross. It's going to cross right at the origin. It's going to have this, and it can go in all different directions depending on what the slope is. The slope can be positive and it could shoot out like this. Could be negative and shoot out like this. But we're looking at a line that's going to go through the origin. We're looking at where it crosses the y-axis at 0. That's what that is telling me. All right, so that's number 5. That's the line crosses. That's what you're saying when the b equals 0 is that our y-intercept is 0. And then here's number 6. Question is, what if m equals 0? So what you're talking about here is you guys are going to, the graph will be a horizontal line through the y-intercept. So what you guys are looking at here is, remember that this is slope, right? So when the slope is equals 0, you're talking about a horizontal line. That's what we just did. You guys just looked at this. So when you guys got something like y equals 4, you're going to come up to 4. There's your first where it crosses the y-axis at. And then remember that all of the points left and right, so they're going to be this horizontal line. You're not going up and down. You're just moving left and right. As you're moving left and right, y is continuing to equal 4 because we're not going up and down. The x's change, but it's always going to be a horizontal line through that y-intercept. The y-intercept is 4. So that's what happens when the slope is 0. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next set of problems on the next slide. So you guys, I am on this slide that looks like this, where we're giving some slope and some y-intercepts, so we're writing them again with the equation. So I'm on number 7. On number 7, we have a slope that equals 1/4. You guys have a y-intercept that equals 4. And you guys got to come over and you guys got to give me that y equals mx plus b form. So y equals, my slope would be 1/4. Put in that x and then put in that y-intercept. And that y-intercept is positive. It's a positive 4, so I'm going to put in a plus 4. Remember, slope can always be written as a fraction, change in y over change in x. It's telling me to go up 1 and telling me to go right 4. Up 1, right 4, up 1, right 4. And that's how you're getting that slope of 1/4. Alrighty, guys, let's move on. Let's look at number 8. Number 8 looks like this. Slope equals -9. Y-intercept equals -5/4. So to write this one, I'm going to go y equals -9x minus 5/4. And I wouldn't, you guys, worry about that plus minus here. It's a negative y-intercept, negative slope. So put in that negative x, put in that negative 5/4. There you go. Pretty simple. You guys are just plugging in those n's and those b's. This should go pretty quick for you. You should be getting pretty fast at being able, if I give you guys the slope and if I give you guys the y-intercept, you should be able to put these into that slope-intercept form really quickly. So you're, again, y equals, put in the 3 for the slope, keep that x, and then put this in at the very end, plus 1/2. And it's a plus because this is understood to be a positive right there, so you're going to put in that plus. If it's a negative, you just put in minus. That's all you guys got to do if it ends up being a negative y-intercept. So we have for that one, y equals 3x plus 1/2. Number 10, here's my slope, is negative 1/4. My y-intercept is negative 6. So as a graph, y equals negative 1/4 x minus 6. And you guys, this negative 1, I'm not always good about like putting it right out in front. But please recognize that when you're dividing integers, that negative can go with the 1 or it can go with the 4. If you were to go down 1, so if I'm looking at a point, or if I'm looking at a point on my x-axis, I just want to show you guys like if I was graphing this. So let's say that I was like up here, down 1, right? And then let's say we go over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, over 4, down 1 over 4. Or you guys can choose to go up 1 and then to the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1 and to the left 4. You're still getting those lines that you're just going on the opposite side. Down 1, right 4 is the same thing as going up and left. You can attach that negative to the top or to the bottom. It doesn't matter. As long as 1 is negative, as long as you're not going down and then left. If you're going down and left, that's a negative and negative, which is actually like a positive. So remember how those integer rules work with division. Okay, so that's number 10. Ready, guys? Find the slope and the y-intercept. So this time I'm going to give you guys equations, and I want you guys to find the slope and the y-intercept. So look at this first one. This first one says y equals negative 4/5 x plus 7. So the slope is going to be the negative 4/5. So y-intercept is 0, 7. And we're not just going to write it as 7. You're going to write it as a coordinate, as an ordered pair. So remember when we're graphing these, we're looking at the x-axis and the y-axis. So I want to know where does it cross when you're looking at both of those. So the first one says y equals 4x minus 3. Remember, that's the slope, and that this is the y-intercept. So when you guys are going to write this, it says the slope of the equation. So the first box is 4. The slope is 4. And the y-intercept, it crosses the y-axis. And this is important that you guys recognize that minus. That minus 3 is super important. So it's going to cross the y-axis at negative 3. That's going to be my y-coordinate. This is the x-coordinate. When x is 0, what is y? Where does it cross the y-axis? It crosses the y-axis at negative 3. All right, I'm going to go over here and we're going to try number 2. Number 2, the equation looks like this. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. All right, my slope should be easy, negative 2/3. It's that number right in front of the x. Now the y-intercept always is going to be when x equals 0. When x equals 0, this says that y equals 2, and it's a plus 2, so it's a positive 2. So in this first box up here, you guys are going to put in 4, and you're going to put in 0, negative 3. Over here, you're going to put in negative 2/3, and you're going to put in 0, 2. All right, number 3. Number 3 gives you guys this equation. And I want you guys to look at this equation. Number 3 says this. It says 3x plus 2y equals 8. And it's asking you guys, what do you notice is different about the third equation? So what do you notice that's different about this equation? What is off with this compared to what we've been doing so far? The big thing that I notice here is I should write, really important, I should say not solved for y. I would notice that this is not solved for y. This is saying 3x plus 2y equals 8, not y equals mx plus b. We've been working so closely with y equals mx plus b. This is not written in slope-intercept form. This is a whole different form that we're going to look at shortly. It's called standard form. So you guys got to get kind of familiar with that one. That one's going to be a little tricky. It's going to be a little more work, but we are going that direction. Number 4 says y equals 2/3 x. The slope of this equation, so remember this is our slope, so the slope will be 2/3, and it says the y-intercept. Well, look over here. There's nothing, and remember what I said about that. That's like having a 0 there. It's just going to go right through the origin. X is going to be 0, y is going to be 0. So this one's going to go right through the origin. So number 4, we should have a 2/3 slope and a 0, 0 y-intercept. All right, guys, I'm going to move on. Here's number 5. Number 5 looks like this. Y equals 3x plus 9. You guys have got to come up with the slope is 3. And the y-intercept as a ordered pair is going to be 0, 9. That's my y-intercept. That's when x equals 0. So write it as an ordered pair. Ordered pair with the parentheses, 0, 9. All right, that's number 5. All right, number 6. Number 6 looks like this. Y equals -4. Okay, so this is a tricky one. Here's my slope. Y-intercept over here. This doesn't have an x in it. The x disappeared. So remember the x disappeared. We're talking about a horizontal line. Slope's going to be 0. 0 times x is 0. So that's what gets rid of that x totally. So the slope here should be 0. The y-intercept is still that integer number at the very end, which is -4. So when x equals 0, y equals -4. So there is my slope and there's my y-intercept for number 6. Okay, guys, and then our last slide says the next set of problems require you to first write the equation in y equals mx plus b form, and then you can determine the slope m and y-intercept b. Now, guys, I'm going to do this example with you, and then I'm going to attach some of these that I want you guys to try on your own to see kind of how you guys are doing. So my examples, remember what I said about standard form? 2x plus 4y equals 12. So what you guys are going to do is you guys got to get this solved for y. We got to that's what it's asking you guys to do to put this in slope-intercept form is we got to get that y all by itself. Right now that y has 2x and it has a 4 in front of it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to move those 2 x's. So I'm just going to subtract those 2 x's. And remember, like I talked about right for break, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So if we subtract 2x here, we got to subtract 2x here to keep it a balance. So the 2x minus 2x is gone. We can bring down the 4y. And I'm going to write that 2x in the front. I'm going to put it at the very beginning because remember, it's mx plus b form. So this is like a minus 2x, so it's what's going to make it negative. So I got -2x, and then this is like a positive 12, so I'm bringing down that plus 12. Now my last step here is I'm not completely finished because I still have this 4. And remember that there's understood to be like a times there. So to undo that times, I'm going to divide by 4 all the way across. I have to do everything divided by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is going to give me my y. Now, 2 divided by 4, remember that this is a minus, so I just get to bring like that minus. I can touch the top, bottom, doesn't matter. It's always going to be a negative because one's positive and one's negative. 2 over 4, 2 goes into both of those. 2 goes into itself once, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. So I got -1/2 x, and then 12 divided by 4 is 3. You're going to actually reduce. So the 12 over 4 just reduces down to become a 3. So that's how I got that 3 on that one. So you guys can see that I marked it, and I marked the slope as 1/2, and I marked the y-intercept as 3. So I have those marked for you guys. That's what I stapled for my assignment for you guys. I need you guys now to go through, and I want you guys to finish your interactive notebook. And I'll be available for you guys. So if you guys got any help, need any help, you're more than welcome to jump on, ask me questions. I can open up a Zoom and we can talk today, okay? So your to-do, I need you guys to complete this interactive notebook. And these interactive notebooks, you guys, these are meant to be something that you can go back and you can view for a quiz or for a test. So you should have these handy, and you should make sure your questions and all of the answers are right. Once you guys are finished, you have your 2 truths and 1 lie. Now that 2 truths, it's going to look like you guys got 2 equations that look right, 1 equation that's wrong. You're going to tell me which one is wrong, which one is graphed wrong, and whichever one is graphed wrong, you're going to bring over your guys's your colored box, and you're going to tell me which one's off. Then you have 60 minutes of ST math when you guys are finished. So there's 60 minutes that I want you guys to do of ST math that you guys are going to do, and this is for the week. So you guys just got to have this done by the end of the week. We're back up, we're back normal. This was a real basic, just quick review of what we've been doing what we were doing in math right before Thanksgiving. I do have more graphing that you guys are going to be doing today in your guys' homework, and I didn't touch on that a whole lot. This was already a 30-minute math lesson just as a review. Please know that I'm available if you guys would like to meet with me on Wednesday. Expect that Thursday we're going to be moving forward. We're going to be getting into things a little bit more in depth. So we're keeping a pace, just so you guys know. So keep with me, okay? I'm available. If you need anything, please let me know. Thank you guys so very much. I appreciate it. Bye.